Good morning, viewers, and welcome to the morning program, the Dailies on Echo Television. And I am Sarah Elisha Dasham. Of course, I have Rachel Tanzi here with me. Good morning, Rachel.
Morning, Sarah.
I wonder if I'm a good mission. I just go down and I have Rachel, you know. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. How about you?
This morning.
I can say the same for you. You're looking good this morning.
Yes, and to our viewers, we're live on Facebook and also on YouTube, so you can do well to follow us on all our social media handles. And also you can drop your comment on our official Facebook and YouTube pages. We'll be going through the newspaper review, and I'll be starting with the Daily Times newspaper. Why we extended deadline of PVC collection. This is coming from INEC, and I would like to read a little from what they said here. Following widespread complaint from many parts of the country, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, yesterday extended by 7 days the deadline for collection of permanent voters' card, which is a PVC. The exercise will now end on January 29 instead of January 22nd as earlier scheduled. Since the collection of the PVC started, the policy has been awash with complaints by citizens over difficulties in picking up the card, worsened by photographs of pregnant women, nursing women, and the age in crowded collection centers have been trending in the media. Acting on the issue, INEC also vowed to punish any staff found to have extorted or discriminated against any registered voter in the insurance of the PVC. The National Commissioner in charge of Information and Voter Election Committee at the Commission, Dr. Festus Okoye, disclosed this extension in the statement yesterday. He said that extension was a fallout of Thursday's regular meeting where the Commission deliberated on a number of issues, including the ongoing collection of the PVC nationwide. The Commission is encouraged by the turnout of the registered voters and the surge in the number of collected PVCs across the country. In some of the states, as many as 100,000 PVC were collected in the last 5 days since the devolution to the ward level started on January 6, 2023. The Commission is determined to ensure that the registered voters have ample opportunity to collect their PVCs ahead of the forthcoming election. For this reason, the time frame for collection of PVC is extended by 8 days. Instead of ending on January 22, 2023, the collection of PVC will continue until January 29, 2023. At the moment, the period of collection is from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. daily, including execution as followed. And you can actually continue to read more of that. And I'm really extended it by 8 days. So I think this, INEC have it. You can actually happy that they are trying to take steps towards it, but that you make it to the election date and elect whoever you want to be in position on that day.
I know there are people out there who, even after the extension in time, will still have an excuse tomorrow to say they couldn't collect their PVC. If you're that Nigerian, you better go and get your PVC, because you are one of the reasons we are suffering as a country. And you have no excuse. If you work Mondays to Friday, you now have Saturday and Sunday to go and get it. So I believe nobody should have an excuse to say, I couldn't get my PVC. We are counting on you this 2023 election, and then everybody's vote matters. Don't feel like yours will not be felt if you don't go and vote. No, we will feel the impact one way or the other, because there's one person somewhere saying they don't have to go and vote. And when we count the number of those kind of people, it will be reaching up to 1 million and more. So don't be that person that will feel that even if you miss out on getting your PVC, it doesn't matter. It does matter, and we are depending on you as a Nigerian, so go get your PVC.
Of course, still ahead 2023 election, don't meddle in Nigeria's internal affairs, Buhari wants envoys. And we have the writer says Nigeria, ECOWAS member states implementing strategies to halt coups as 6 ambassadors present letters of credence. And I'd like to read a little out of that. Apparently, this is coming from President Muhammadu Buhari. He said, apparently weary about issues of interference by foreign countries in political affairs over which African countries have exclusive competence. President Muhammadu Buhari have sent a strong message to the government of foreign powers, asking them not to meddle in Nigeria's internal affairs. Nigeria has been grappling with what it considers as foreign meddlesomeness in its internal affairs through malicious deployment of the internet. This led to the face-off between the federal government and social network and microblogger site Twitter, which was suspended indefinitely in June 2021 and restated in January last year, as well as the strong disapproval of unverified security alert issued by certain embassies in the country. As Nigerians prepare for another general election, Buhari told the governments of foreign powers to diplomatically confine their activities within the confines of their primary assignments in Nigeria. The president spoke yesterday when he received letters of creditors from ambassadors of Switzerland, Sweden, Republic of Ireland and Kingdom of Thailand and Republic of Senegal and the Republic of South Sudan at the State House. And so this is a warning to foreign countries. So if you're interested in that story, you can do well by getting the paper and also reading more detail of that story. Still on the Daily Times newspaper, new Nigeria possible Obi assures Enugu people as party denies assassination attempt. And you can see a picture story here where we can see the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of Spain, Mr. Josh, and together with the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at the presidential villa in Abuja yesterday. That's all on the Daily Times newspaper.
On this day newspaper, CBN intensifies nationwide awareness on redesigned Naira. The writer insists new banknotes have come to stay. Sensitizes Onitsha traders, Kano grain marketers, and others on security futures of new note. Maintains new 1,000 Naira, 500 Naira note, and 200 Naira note can only be dispensed through ATMs. And you can continue with that story on page 5 of this day newspaper. INEC extends deadline for collection of PVCs till January 29th. This cost collected 188 billion Naira as revenue out of 265 billion Naira billed in the second quarter of 2022, and you can read that on page 8. Coming from Obi, we will destroy structure of criminality, build new Nigeria, says PDP APC failed Nigerians, insists lecturers won't go on strike under him, promises insurance for security agencies. And the big story on this day newspaper again, Buhari warns foreign missions against interference in Nigeria's politics, says nation working with ECOWAS to secure region and halt coups, Spain to collaborate with Nigeria in insecurity fight, confers post-Mammons Award on lead envoy Seriki, and Silva seeks help to tackle insecurity in oil sector. Your allegation against me, unfortunate, Monarch replies Kogi government, and you can read that on page 10. We have a picture story on a bilateral meeting, and that's all the news on this day newspaper.
Still ahead on the Punch newspaper, and we have the first story here, ballot paper. Local printer set to sue INEC Commission extend the PVC collection till January 29. Federal government woos Spanish investors for 7 oil blocks. So you can follow up that story on page 19. 648 cases brought against presidential. Okay, I take that story. 648 cases brought against the president and the federal government. This is coming from the Attorney General of the Federation. So you can read more of that story on page 29. And the big story, budget deficit rises by 370%, hit 47 trillion Naira under Buhari. The writer says president to pass on $15.62 billion Eurobond repayments to the next government. So you can follow up that story more. And we have here, be guided by diplomatic practice, federal government urges envoys, and you can read more of that too. We have some story from Human Angle. Gunmen kill 4 Anambra vigilantes, bomb 5 buildings. My wife unconscious for 3 days after giving birth. This is coming from the husband. You can read more of that on page 3. EFCC shortlists 26 bidders for forfeited asset. You can read that also inside the paper, and that's all on the Punch newspaper.
On the Daily Sun newspaper, don't hand Nigeria over to sick person, coming from Obi. confident his victory will mark end to poverty, unemployment, and ASU strike. The Sun Award will fire us to go beyond our expectation. This is coming from the NNPCL boss. And you can start with that story on the front page and continue on page 6 of the Daily Sun newspaper. 4 killed as gunmen attack Anambra community. The big story, Buhari warns international community on election, tells them to be guided by diplomatic practice. We wish Nigeria well. This is coming from the Envoys, and you can read all of that on page 6. Lagos NLC TUC endorse Tinubu Sanwo-Olu. Federal government recovers $6.3 million, $390 million, $5.4 million from proceeds of crime-fortified assets. DSS admits error in Okupe's arrest. Labour Party flees action. Supreme Court gives jailed Nwoboshi fresh date of challenge, 7 years imprisonment. And you can read that story on page 5. Total BVN registration now stand at 56.57 million. This is a report coming from NIBSS. Abia Guba, Canberra's Bishop Onoaha, ADC candidate. Anxiety has called rules on PDP ticket today, and you can read that on page 29. Still on the Daily Sun newspaper, INEC bows to pressure, extends time frame for PVC collection, investigates allegation of extortion, discriminatory issuance of cards. And at the downside of the paper, we have government approves 24.4 billion naira for smart irrigation scheme, EVC Naseni. And you can read all of that on page 25. And that's all the news on the Daily Sun newspaper.
On First News newspaper, confusion, suspend trial Emefele's whereabouts as contradictory media report about his return circulate. CBN management keeps mum. I have no plan to script so 2023 election. This is coming from Obasanjo, denies writing UK to back off Nigerians polls. And we have another story that says why Peter Obi must be next president. This is coming from Emifem, the Afenifere leader, Adebajo. I won't campaign for him, coming from Obasanjo. You can read more of that story inside the paper. And the big story is still saying INEC extend PVC collection deadline by 8 days. Commission says collection now to continue till January. Don't hand over early Nigeria to sick man. Obi wants electorate. Assures there won't be ASU strike under my presidency. Where it's one thing for you to tell us, and it's another thing for us to see it coming. And I really don't know why we have to talk about it's important at a time like this. But I just hope that we maintain the status quo of what campaign is all about and stop diverting and actually looking for a way, even though it looks like you're trying to buy people over to yourself by actually bringing out the default or actually bringing out the faults in somebody else and actually giving them reasons why the person is not credible enough to be elected come the 2023 election. But then regardless of that, I just hope that you let the electorate to actually be the final judge of all of this, whether it is in terms of health or whether it's in terms of being credible, being transparent, being accountable. Because if you look at most of all of these presidential candidates, at one point or the other, they have served Nigeria. Either as being a governor, being a senator, being a vice president, or one thing or the other. But I keep saying it's one thing for you to be a governor, it's another thing for you to be a president. It's one thing for you to be a senator, it's another thing for you to be the president itself. It's one thing for you to be the vice president, it's another thing for you to be the president itself, because it has so much. And it's not just about you, but you'll be having cabinet members that will be working alongside with you. Do they see the same vision as you do? It's one thing for us to keep saying this over and over and over. We can see even on the paper where we saw that the president, there are some cases that have been brought against the president and also down to the General Federation. People that have actually been, bringing up their displeasure about certain things, especially when it comes to the fuel subsidy, and also looking at the fact that we're still having fuel scarcity, and we see marketers yesterday telling us that we'll still be having all of this for the next 6 months. Eventually, or will I say fortunately or unfortunately for us, will be when they will be removing the the subsidy, first
yeah.
subsidy. And they were still saying that people are still have been skeptical about the Attorney General of the Federation, wondering why he holds two positions, being a Minister of Defense and at the same time still being the Attorney General of the Federation. It's expected that that position should be splitted. So, of course, Nigerians will have one thing or the other that they are not happy about, their displeasure about the way you actually lead them or the way you actually carry out certain things. But then one thing is for sure, in as much as the president is telling other foreign nations to back out from whatever is happening in the country. Last year was where we saw all of these alerts that came up, even as much as we denied it. But eventually, there was one or two proofs, I guess, there was something was coming up, you know. So I just hope that rather than, you know, looking at somebody that's incompetent in one way or the other, why don't you show how competent you are rather than be pointing the incompetence of another candidate? In as much as you want to campaign, let them, I just hope that they would remain on their lane, do what is expected of you to do, and let the electorates, let the polls actually tell us at the end of the day who is really ready and who will be giving the mantle of leadership come the 25th of February.
When you look at Nigeria, there's nothing that is not possible. We keep saying it. When you look at what we have, the resources we have, everything that we have as a country, number one, we shouldn't even be struggling financially as a country. We shouldn't even have a debt profile to begin with. We shouldn't be struggling economically. And I remember saying the same for our military. They do have the capacity to stop insecurity, and Boko Haram, terrorism should be a long story. We all have the capacity to do that as a country. And therefore, when Peter Obi says that he will stop strike when he becomes the president, we look forward to that. However, it is very possible. When you look at it over the years, what have been the cause of this strike in this country? It means even this current administration has the capacity and the possibility to make sure that strike doesn't go on in Nigeria. And whoever is the next coming administration still has the capacity to make sure that ASU don't go on strike. It's all about doing the right thing. It's all about doing the work. It's all about making sure that mistakes are not being repeated. You sit down with this body, what has been their request? What has been the thing that has been making them to go on strike? Is this something that the federal government can do, even if it is not 100% of their need, but can you come into 50% of their need? What is the problem? I just believe that there's nothing that as Nigerians we cannot achieve or solve as a country. So when he says that, I don't see it as impossible, but I'm looking forward to seeing that happening. And then concerning the health challenge, I believe that this is not one of those banter or insults or just trying to pull vote yourself kind of move. Because whether we like it or not, the truth is, as citizens, we need to look into the health condition of whoever is going to be the president, because it's not small work. I remember the past administration, we had 2 instances where the president was gone for a very long while and we didn't even know what was his state. We didn't even know what was the state of the country, because it was almost like it was left. On one occasion, yes, he passed the power to the vice president to be acting. On another occasion, there was nothing like that. So it was almost like everything was on a standstill in the country. We don't need that repeating itself again in Nigeria. So in as much as it might be coming from another candidate and it might look like a way to shift vote back, I believe that I also, as an individual, if I'm looking forward to who I want to be the next candidate of my next president, I should be able to say, is this person fit to run physically? Because we need a physical president. We need someone there making decisions because we trusted you, not someone else making decisions on your behalf. You are that person. We need you as a figure to be always there and taking us towards the direction we believed in you, that you can do that for us. So yes, the medical condition of a candidate, I believe, is important, because we want someone that we know is mentally there, physically there, and is capable to take Nigeria to where we need to go. As you can see where the country is at the moment, we need someone who is constantly there doing the work that we have voted that person to do.
Of course, we'll be checking their track record and also watching for those who have been with us in the country during our good and bad times.
Yes.
Still on the First News newspaper, we have Kaduna Deputy Speaker member Dom APC and joined the Labour Party. Northeast APC youth threatened to dump Shetima party reacts. After erroneous arrest, EFCC says it will remove Okupe from the watch list. Still on the paper, UK short Obi's company over account issue. This is the report. Real reason why it was wound down. This is coming from the Labour Party campaign. And you can read more of other stories inside the paper, and that's all on the first newspaper.
On Nigerian Tribune, Okupe in arrest drama at Lagos Airport. Obasanjo denies writing UK on forthcoming elections. CBN says new note, not bleaching takes sensitization to markets. And the big story on Nigerian Tribune, PVC collection, INEC bows to pressure, extends deadline, and you can read that on page 5. And at the left side of the paper, we have no official letter informing me of Buhari's visit. Ohinoi replies Bello. Gunmen attack vigilante operatives, kill 4 in Anambra. How I lost mom to trauma while I was in prison. This is coming from an NSAS protester. You can read that on page 28. Don't interfere with our election, Buhari warns foreign governments, and you can read that on page 3. Policeman killed during rescue of abducted Edo customary court president. Although government threatens to banish Akare Akoko monarchs, relaxes curfew, and you can read that on page 28. We have some picture story. If you want to know what it is all about, get the Nigerian Tribune, and that's all the news on Nigerian Tribune.
And on the New Telegraph newspaper, oil and gas, federal government canvasses more investment from Spain. You can read that on the front page and also on page 3. And let me just give you a little of it. The federal government on Thursday called on the Spanish government and investors from the country to invest more in Nigeria's oil and gas sector. It particularly called on the Spanish companies to invest in the deep offshore mini bid process, which Minister of State Petroleum Resources Chief Silva said offered 7 oil blocks to the investors. So you can read more of that story in the paper. Still on the paper, we have another story that said we are working with ECOWAS to stop coups and insecurity. This is coming from President Muhammadu Buhari. Senate frowns at indiscriminate tax holidays, import duty waivers, and concession. You can read more of that on page 4. Troops say stolen crude oil products of worth 810 million naira. This is coming from, excuse me, from the defense headquarters. And on school resumption, insecurity liable for low turnout of students. This is coming from the FCTA, and I hope that we'll do something about that. If we really know that insecurity is the reason why we're having low turnout of school students resuming back to the school, what have we done? Do we have security agencies that are on ground to make sure that things are working out well? Are we sure that our schools are really safe? Do we have all that is needed to, to be there? So I think that this is what we have to look inwardly, not just in the FCT. I believe that it has gone round to other parts, not just in FCT. We have the likes of the Northeast and Northwest. It's mostly like a soft spot for these terrorists. I always attack schools. So I hope that as a government, we've done all that is needed. Yesterday, we saw the president actually giving his assurance to the bishops and those are in his entourage that they will make sure that they protect lives and property before he hands over in May 29. So we look forward to that too. Still on New Telegraph, we have Tinubu beat Atiku Obi in February presidential poll. This is coming from Dambazo. And INEC extend the PVC collection by 1 week, warns against discriminatory insurance, and to commence screening for Akok waters in Niger. You can read that on page 3 and 28. Anambra traders protest sale of real design notes in market, accuses commercial bank of sharp practice, and I hope that the CBN will really check that story critically and to see who are those that are behind that. EFCC to remove Toye's name from the watch list, explain why he was arrested, says 26 successful bids recorded in forfeited properties sale. And coming from the presidency, Obi candidate for Nigeria's unification. This is coming from Eze Faye, says Otto Eze and others will soon support Obi's project. And on alleged collision of 2023 polls false, this is coming from Obasanjo. On 2023, Bauchi breaks alliance with the G5 governors as Mohammed declared his support for Atiku. With the rider, PDP has the best candidate. This is coming from Dire. APC alabas to Nigeria's infrastructural economic growth. This is coming from Okoa. Federal government prosecuted 3,000 terrorism case, convicted 397 in 8 years. Generated 1.8 billion naira from asset forfeiture, recovered 6.3 billion euro stolen funds. And downside of the paper, we have a study that says fast food consumption increase liver disease risk. So for those who are fond of actually eating fast food, you have been warned about that. So if you want to know more about that, you can check that study on page 26. And that's all on the New Telegraph newspaper. But we'd like to take a time out at this moment so we can open the phone lines for our callers, so you can call us. We'd really love to hear from you. What do you feel about the extension of date coming from the PVC, from INEC actually giving us a deadline for us to go collect our PVC by extending the date? And also President Muhammadu Buhari have told foreign nations to stay clear of Nigeria's internal issues. So we really love to hear from you. Remember, we're live on Facebook too. So do not go anywhere. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, it's still the Dailies on Equa Television International, where we give you breaking stories from our Nigerian newspaper. I still remain Sarah Elisha, and Richard is still here with me. Thank you, Rachel, for being here with me. Yes, remember, please, that we're live on Facebook and also on YouTube. You can go there, drop your comment, drop your contributions, and our phone number that is displayed on your screen. So you can also call us and let us hear what your feedbacks are. What do you feel are your contributions about all the stories on the paper, looking at the sanitization coming from the CBN on using of the new narrative. Continue with the newspaper review by going to the Guardian newspaper.
On the Guardian newspaper, you've lost Igbo support over comments, SERG tells Tinubu. INEC extend PVC's collection deadline till January 29. Sanwo-Olu promises better tomorrow if re-elected. Gunmen kill 4 vigilante raised buildings in Anambra and bomb attack. And the big story on the Guardian newspaper, banks defy CBN, continue issuing old Naira notes. The writer following that story says new banknotes still scanty. Only 1 out of 9 banks in Boko issuing new notes. In Benue, new notes treated as souvenirs. Kano customers tackle cashiers over mutilated notes. Long queue. Let's start with our story on the front page and continue on page 6. We have a Jakarta steel plant like refineries, a newspaper. At the downside of the paper, we have I never wanted third-term presidency, says Obasanjo. You can read why he said that on page 8. And that's all the news on the Guardian newspaper.
All right, let's take this call from Niger State. Good morning.
On what will expire with our old money.
Please move away from your TV set. Hello, can you hear me? Okay, please, if you call us, do remember to move away from your TV set or turn down the volume completely, because we really love to hear what you have to say concerning the stories. I know before we move further, Rachel, this story of the Ajaokuta steel plant, like refineries, a story retold, promises unkept. This is one out of many. I remember how much has been injected into this steel mining, just so that we can revive it and it will start working again. Because I know of someone that actually lose her, her job as a result of this place not working. Even though we still have few other people that are still giving us grant to make sure that this thing is working. Even if inwardly as a country, we have injected lots of money into this refinery so that it can start working. Now, what really is the problem? This is just one out of many. I remember, was it last year or so, where we saw textile market we use every day. We cannot come out and be bragging of wearing some very beautiful Ankaras and textile, and yet at the end of the day, these are not produced inwardly. I remember we have been hammering here on the show the fact that we need to be a producing country and not just a consuming country. For how long are we going to keep remaining in this position? For how long are we going to keep staying and keep saying words at the end of the day we don't back it up? Okay, we have Charles. Hello, Charles. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, thank you so much. Please go on with your contribution.
Okay. Thank you. I want to mention the president saying that elections to stay clear of Nigerian internal issues. I think how I wish that the president made this same statement in 2015 when he was campaigning to win the election in 2015. So many things went wrong during that time. Some governors traveled to the U.S. just to make sure that they bring the government of Goodluck Jonathan down. Now he's making this. How I wish that he will live to his statement, making Nigeria a democratic, sovereign nation. We will love that. That is one. Also, I would like to comment on the policy. He promised that he's going to reposition Nigeria's economy and upgrade security by the end of his tenure. And the question I'm asking, what he was unable to do in 7 years, will he be able to do it in how many months of it is remaining for him to leave office? That's about 3 to 4 months. What he was unable to do in 7 years, 7.5 years, is he expecting us to believe that he's going to do it in 4 months? I don't think so. Let us tell ourselves the truth. Last time I called, I told you that by my own calculation that INEC is ready for this election.
Yes,
it's just that so many things are happening. Some people are trying to bring all the arrangement that INEC has put in place. But imagine people paying to collect PVC. Imagine people bringing up some bottlenecks to make sure that people don't collect their PVC. These are things we see in Nigeria. I thank God that INEC has seen the handwriting on the wall and they are able to come up with this idea of extending the collection of PVC by 1 week. Please let them make sure that everybody that is registered collect their PVC so that they will be able to vote in the incoming election. Banks defy CBN and continue issuing old Naira notes. I would just like to say that from all indications, that there are people who are actually in control of this government, who are making decisions. Like Senera said, that it is not, no, it's not, I think it's your colleague that said it, that we don't want a president who will sit, who will be there, and another person will be making decisions for him. And that person will be, commanding the government for him, taking critical decisions. How can the banks be giving an order for them to start issuing the new Naira notes, and the banks will defy the order of the CBN? It tells you that there is somebody somewhere, or there are people somewhere who are actually controlling what these commercial banks are doing. So these are things that we need to address. I believe that when the incoming government, any government that is going to be voted into power, and they will come up and sit up, take control of the government. When they make a decision, that decision will be, implemented. And those who are supposed to implement them will implement them to the letter. Not when the government will give order. Some people from somewhere, who I may call the cabals, they will be there giving directives for the agencies to defy those orders that have been given by government. Thank you very much. That's my take this morning.
Thank you so much, Charles. Thank you so much, Charles, from Abakaliki. He raised lots of, concerns and also very key points because Charles is one of our, very regular callers on the show. And he picked up from what he said the last time he called when he said INEC is ready. But just that some people somewhere are trying to frustrate their effort, and he's commending them for extending the, the collection of PVC. Yeah. And he's also, making sure, also actually adding up his voice out, saying everybody should go get their PVC. You don't have any excuse whatsoever to say you cannot or you will not. Since INEC has given out their word, they will punish those who are extorting money and all of that. They will do the right thing. And also the fact that CBN is still giving us, they have given a directive, banks are not obeying, and I begin to wonder what is the problem. If you have said by January 31st, all notes should be withdrawn, and then we should have the new notes. Yeah, the new notes are hard to get. Just like we saw here, they say some, in Benue, it's been treated like a souvenir. I think it's not just in Benue. Almost every state, we're having that same issue, because when you go to withdraw, you have to even withdraw, maybe if you have 10,000, you'll be hoping to get maybe like 2,000 naira or 3 or 5 if you're lucky of the new currency and the remaining. So this is even making it more difficult for you to be able to give back the old note and all of that. So we hope that they do what they are supposed to do. But they're still looking at, before the call came in, we're looking at why we say one thing and we don't do another thing, looking at the Jakarta steel plant, refineries, and many other industries that are dying. Here in the Plateau State, we have that of the coal and tea mining. Till date, nothing is coming. Okay, we have another caller from Akwa Ibom. Good morning. Hello, can you hear me? Good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning. Please go on. What's your name?
My name is Urapan. My name is...
Okay, can you move away from your seat so we can hear you clearly, please?
So I hear about the independent national election, that I need them to control the election, and I need Peter Obi to be the next president of this Nigeria, so that the Nigeria can be stable. Let us forget about it. Let us do the thing amicably. Please, let the independent national electorate take care of this thing and do this thing properly. Are you hearing me?
I can hear you clearly.
You hear, so because the problem that we have now, you hear my name, you are...
That call was ended. But then just to let you know that you're free to actually, air your view of who you want to vote. But this is not a campaign show. We don't campaign for anybody. We just campaign for the good and right leadership here on the platform, and not for any candidate whatsoever. So I hope we do the right thing, Rachel. Looking at our industries and all the rest, we need to wake up, make sure that we revitalize them. They need to start working again. I mean, that will also create job opportunity and also, create wealth back into the country. So I hope that we look in that direction. So,
starting from last year, there was already bidding for private companies that were going to buy it, and then making sure there was a structure in place that they follow the guidelines the government are giving. And now seeing this, perhaps the government are not keeping to their own side of the bargain, or is still on the market.
We have another call. Hello, Peace from Benue. Good morning.
Hello?
Hello, Peace from Benue. Please turn down the volume of your TV set.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Please go on.
I say my name is G. Solomon. I'm calling from Benue State, Makodi.
All right, please go on, Peace. We can hear you.
I want to commend INEC so much for extending the time for the PVC. And I want also to appreciate INEC for making it possible for election to hold on that day. It's not easy for INEC. Politicians have money, even with the new policy of the CBN, the politicians begin to sabotage the process. You know, bank managers hungry are everywhere because of the border closure and everything is scattered. And we pray that the INEC boss, God will give him wisdom to make the real thing, win-win. Because if you can see, the power must shift from the north to the south. It's bad for the PDP not to zone the presidential candidate to the south. If we have the APC from the south, the Labour from the south, and the PDP from the south, and the people of the south will decide who to vote. If you can see, the Labour Party would have a good opportunity to win because of the issue of the Muslim and Christian. But in Nigeria, we don't vote based on Christianity and Muslim. We vote party. So we also thank you people for making this show live. You also have to tell the INEC boss to tell his INEC not to collect money from politicians. Tell them not to collect money from politicians. And let the government also increase their welfare so that they will not be tempted. And they should also increase the welfare of the judges, the tribunal, so that they will go there and make the right thing. Because when somebody is hungry, I see money, you collect it. Now you see one man withdraw more than 20 million naira in Benue State. People spend money in the old currency everywhere, the new one, you not find it. The politicians are not even giving you anything, fake promises. The EFCC should step up their investigation in the polling unit to make sure that money doesn't run close to the polling unit. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pete, for that awareness, even though he's saying that INEC needs to be very disciplined not to collect money from politicians, and also the judiciary needs to be well taken care of, especially when it comes to all these tribunal cases, because when they are not being taken care of, a hungry man can be tempted. But then regardless, I hope that our conscience will judge us right by making us to do the right thing. So you were making a point, Rachel.
Yeah, so it's all about us waking up and then doing the right thing, because once you leave something to die, it's only normal if you have to go through this much struggle to bring it back to life, because I want to believe that this Ajakuta still was left to die. And this is something that should have continued. I said when it comes to growth and development, it's a continuous process. The moment you start from the scratch, it takes more resources, it takes in more manpower and all of that. Some of this equipment might have been left to rot and then all of that, and then you start. All right.
Rachel. We have a caller from Taraba. Good morning, sir. Hello to a caller from Taraba. Can you hear me? Jonah, good morning.
Good morning, and too.
Thank you so much. Go on.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you. Please go on.
The problem we are facing and our fear now is all about INEC. Although they are putting their best to make this election won. But among the disciples of Jesus, there was Judas.
True.
So our basic fear is on the INEC. After we Nigerian youth, we have known whom to vote for already. INEC to discipline their staff. Hello?
I can hear you. Please go on.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? All right. Let's just move on with the newspaper. We'd love to hear you calling us, even though he said our problem is INEC having some Judas, even using the instance of Jesus. So we hope that no Judas will come out of the INEC. So. Let's take a look at the leadership newspaper on 2023 polls. Don't interfere in our elections. President Muhammadu Buhari tells foreign powers, and you can read that on page 4. With the rider asks diplomats to stay within official limit. Obasanjo warned against voting nation destroyers, urges electorate to consider candidate mental physical fitness. Election not by tribe, religion, says Obi. Still on the Friday leadership, Buhari critics are ignorant. This is coming from the federal government. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, have labeled those criticizing President Muhammadu Buhari over the state of the economy as ignorant. Mohammed, who disclosed this at the ongoing 18th edition of the President Muhammadu Buhari scorecard series yesterday in Abuja, stated that the government has done well in the past 8 years and as such deserve to be, applauded. Troops kill 75 terrorists, capture 65, rescue 115 civilians. This is coming from the Defense Headquarters. INEC extend PVC collection to January 29. EFCC frees Okupe after DSS arrest. UK court hears federal government P&ID case January 16. And we have terrorism. Federal government rescued 397 conviction in 7 years. That you can find on page 6. And that's all on the Friday Leadership newspaper.
On Business Day newspaper, 7 things to watch out for in Nollywood. And if you're a fan of Nollywood and you want to know how they are thriving business-wise, you can continue with that story on page 30. And the big story on Business Day, tension as Nigerians scramble for PVCs ahead of polls. INEC extend collection deadline and probes extortion. We have a story on Explainer, who chairs MPC as CBN releases 2023 meeting schedule, and you can read that on page 28. Canada's new housing policy seen hurting Nigerian immigrant and investors. We have an analysis, Nigeria yet to learn from past train attacks, and I would like to agree with that a little bit, but then it's never too late to fix the problem. As long as the train traveling is still functional, then something can be put in place to make sure that past mistakes don't repeat itself. And you can read that story on page 28 of Business Day newspaper. And that's all the news on Business Day.
Thank you so much, Rachel, for doing this with me. Thank you to our callers. Thank you to those who dropped their comment. Thank you so much to the crew members and also even to the Echo executive for giving us a platform like this. Until we come here again, to have a blessed weekend.